So I was asked last night if I'd ever heard of a game called Billie Bust Up, and I'll be completely honest, I had absolutely zero idea what this thing was. So I did a little bit of research, and my god, this game looks and sounds absolutely fantastic. So Billie Bust Up is a crowd-funded 3D musical platformer with lots of very bright colours, cute characters, and most impressively, incredibly catchy villain songs. You take on the role of Billie, a headstrong young girl in her quest to follow her long-lost father's footsteps and reclaim a powerful magic. Now, that sounds ominous as anything, but the actual developers have come out and said that there is a deep, mysterious story woven into this game, despite it being aimed at a younger audience. Which to me is only a good thing really, as you can appeal to a wider breadth of fans when you do this. Now this game is currently in its pre-alpha stage still, but it does have a downloadable demo, which is what I've been using to play it so far, and I simply love it. When I initially booted up, I just went into the practice arena just to get a feel for the controls and see how it actually played. I will say I do think a practice arena in itself is just an awesome feature for a game to have, especially one that is in such an early stage of development. It does give players that are interested in the game a feel for how it's going to play upon release, and if there are any issues, it allows the sort of already existing fans or people that are at the very least interested in the game to flag any issues and report them. All in all, I just feel it's mutually beneficial. It allows players to test out the game to see initially if they actually like it and are interested in it fully, and it also gives the opportunity for any bugs or issues to be highlighted to developers and then ultimately improve the game long term. Now, one of the first things I noticed within this practice arena was just how clean the character Billie was moving. The character model itself showed such a range of movement in terms of sort of mantling, grappling, shimmying, and it all felt very fluid. It's really cool seeing that many different elements in a little indie platformer such as this, because a lot of the time you're just expecting a bit of a run and jump and maybe a climb, but that's about as far as it goes. But there was way more traversal features in this than I was expecting. Also, I really loved how reactive the character model was itself to these movements. Like, watching the ears bounce around was just really oddly satisfying, and having small little details like having Billie just push her ears out of the way of her eyes was just a nice touch. It's little details like this that just add a depth of immersion for the player, and I really appreciate it. All in all, it felt very solid mechanically and was a nice taster as to how the game was going to play itself. That being said, nothing could have prepared me for what I was going to endure with the boss levels. So in its current pre-alpha state, there are 2 separate boss levels that you can play through. Now, I wasn't able to play through one of these because I believe you have to be a Patreon. Now, it's not that I didn't want to do this, I feel like I was just being really dumb, but I couldn't actually seem to grab a link that would let me play this second level. It sort of said there was some sort of cut-off pledge in November, which I've obviously missed now. Please let me know in the comments if it's still possible to access, because I would 100% be buzzing to pay for it and just play the level because it looks awesome. But unfortunately I was only able to play the first level. This level that I was able to play though completely blew me away. Now, with this being a musical platformer, I think one of the first things that we need to address and say about this level is just how amazing the music is. The villain song, to me, is genuinely like world class. Granted, I really like this sort of stuff, but after playing this level, I genuinely had the music on repeat at work because it was just such an earworm. I could not get it out of my head. I can't play it in the video, obviously for copyright reasons, but I just found it incredibly charming, and if you're big on musicals or like that sort of Disney stuff where it's quite energetic and theatrical, this will be right up your alley. Now, the big thing for me which makes this level and ultimately this game look so good is the way that the music pairs up perfectly with the gameplay itself. The way in which the level progresses, whether it's objects falling from the sky or you having to physically maneuver Billie, just syncs up so well with the music itself. It just creates such an immersive experience. To me, it's very reminiscent of how Edgar Wright directs his movies, which I appreciate might be a bit of an out there reference, but he always pairs up his scenes perfectly with accompanying music, and it just makes them so much better. I think the only time I've experienced something somewhat similar from a gaming perspective is when I was playing through the music levels in Rayman Legends, and to me, they were arguably like the best levels in the game. So comparing this game to them is holding it in quite high esteem for me. I feel like this musical and gameplay synchronization just creates such a great atmosphere which pairs incredibly well when the game gets chaotic, which throughout the boss fights is quite common. Now when it came to these more upbeat moments, this game began to give me really strong Cuphead vibes, which again for me is fantastic because I absolutely adore Cuphead, but particularly when it came to the difficulty and having to sort of memorize the different boss attacks and level progression. So as you know, sort of you get attacked in various ways throughout the levels, you need to memorize that and learn it so you don't take damage, right? I would say I certainly don't think it's as challenging as Cuphead, particularly in the normal setting. I think you get like 8 or 9 hits you can take as Billie. However, if you're in the one-hit mode, it is absolutely unforgiving and really does rival Cuphead for that difficulty. I've got to say the vibrancy of these levels is something that can't be understated as well. Visually to me this game is just fantastic, everything looks very clean and crisp, but it's also incredibly bright and vibrant with the colours itself, which honestly can actually make it slightly overwhelming and adds a layer of difficulty and challenge to it itself. Again, this is something that I noticed when playing Cuphead, but when you get to a stage where there's so much going on and there's so many colours all over the place, that level of chaos can make a level even more difficult, which is exactly what you want out of a challenging platformer. I think another real strength of this game, and again this sort of comes with being in that pre-alpha stage still, is that you're allowing the audience to see how these boss levels are improving over time. The devs have obviously been really open with how the game is progressing, and they've actually shown a little side-by-side comparison as to how this boss level was previously and how it is now in today's state. I feel like this is a really effective method of showing how the game is enhancing in terms of the features that we do really like. So in terms of that music and gameplay synchronization, you can see in the more recent version of the level that we've seen, this has been vastly improved, so you've got like bells falling in time with the bell chimes of the song itself. Again, some of these things are very small details, but it really adds depth to the character of this game. So speaking of the devs, the developers of this game are Giddy Goat Games, or as I like to call them, Triple G. Now I'll be completely honest, I have never heard of these guys before, and realistically I probably shouldn't have, as this is an indie title and I think this is the first game they've ever released. So I would just like to say, seeing something which looks such high standard and really is showing promise, massive hats off and respect to them. Like, you can really tell that they've taken their time with it and want to produce something as good as they can, and I really commend them for that. When you compare it to some of the slop that gamers are generally served in this modern time, this really is like quite high level stuff comparatively. Now when playing Billie Bust Up, I was actually able to play on controller, which I thought was awesome. I do predominantly play Xbox games, so trying to do mouse and keyboard really wasn't for me. And it got me thinking, could this game actually be released on console? Now it is rumoured to potentially be releasing on multiple platforms. As I mentioned in my Mouse PI video, I feel like if this can be the case, it would really benefit from Game Pass. I just feel that this could really boost the notoriety of both the game and Triple G themselves. And more often than not, it is games like these which become little hidden gems across gaming streaming platforms, so if it continues on this promising course, I see no reason why this couldn't be a massive success for Game Pass. So overall then, should you be excited about Billie Bust Up? To me, I think that you absolutely should be, and you should 100% try the demo if you haven't already. If you like platformers, particularly musical platformers, which are a little bit of a niche, I really think this would be for you. I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it. My only potential fear going into this is that when I was researching this game, this has been in development now for 7 years and it is still only in the pre-alpha stage. Obviously I fully understand it's an indie game and getting those games fully published and getting funding for them is incredibly difficult. However, I'm just really hoping that we will actually see a full release of this game and it doesn't accidentally fall by the wayside for whatever reason. I feel there is undoubted quality and potential in this game. The boss levels that I've experienced are absolutely fantastic. Mechanically it's great, visually it looks amazing. It's also worth mentioning there are obviously going to be platformer levels in there as well. From what I've seen in the trailers, I've obviously only actually experienced the boss fight, but presumably platformer levels are going to be to a similar standard, and from what I've seen they look pretty cool as well. But what do you guys think? Will you be giving this game a go sometime soon? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you do know a way how I can get access to that second boss level, please do let me know, because I'm probably just being an idiot. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this and you are new here, please do consider subscribing. It does mean the absolute world. And without further ado, I will hope to see you in another video sometime soon.